As usual, let's start with the display. Note how there's no bomb stock, no measure of power, no number of times you've grazed bullets. Your score has been moved to the top right of the playing field. Why the minimalist look? Trust me, you're going to need the room, but that's beside the point. On the top of your field, there's your health. That's right, you have health in this game. Depending on a multitude of factors, you can lose anywhere from 1/2 to 3 of those 5 orbs whenever you get hit. Once you lose all 5, then you explode. On the bottom, there's a gauge that slowly builds up as you shoot things. This gauge is integral to a majority of the game, because apart from your regular shots, which you'll now have to press repeatedly by the way, you'll now have the option of charging your shots into either a slightly stronger attack on your field, or a spell card attack on your opponent's field. To do this, simply build your gauge to the appropriate length, and hold down the shot button until you get to that length. You can charge your attack up to 4 different levels. The first level is the aforementioned charge attack, which varies greatly depending on who uses it. It could be a spread barrage, a defensive barrier, etc. I wouldn't depend on it too often, although it has its uses. The second level is where things start to get interesting. On top of your charge attack, you send an additional attack directly at your opponent. The game recognizes this as a fairy class spell card, and a small portion of your field is cleared of bullets depending on where you are. The third level, known as the Witch class spell card, is essentially a stronger version of the Fairy class, both in terms of attacking your opponent and clearing your field of bullets. The final level, however, is probably the most effective tool in your arsenal. Not only does a charged Dragon class spell clear out your field in its entirety, it also sends a copy of your character to the opponent's field to harass her. Combined with other attacks, Lily, this can be especially deadly. Use with caution though, as Dragon classes can easily put you at a severe meter disadvantage. Regarding Dragon classes actually, there are a couple of other things to take note of. For instance, a well-timed Dragon class can negate other Dragon classes and replace the field with your own. Or how about this? While you're shooting enemies on your field, you can rack up a combo and score some big points. For every 100,000, 300,000, and 500,000 points in a single combo, you automatically activate a Dragon class spell without even using up the gauge you saved. In the case of a 500,000 point spell, you'll get a Witch class on top of the Dragon class, so you can imagine that chaining enemies together is a very good idea. On the field, you'll see red, yellow, and green wiggly looking things. These are spirits, and story-wise, they're more a nuisance than anything else. They'll fly right past you if you let them, but you can set them off by focusing. While you're focused, a purple shape will appear around your character. This is called your scope. Each girl has a differently behaving scope, but you could use any one of them to activate the spirits and shoot them down. Spirits shot down in this manner transfer over to your opponent's field as one of 3 things: a bullet, an EX attack, or another spirit. So yes, there are a number of things to consider simultaneously. The spell cards, chaining enemies, scoping spirits, and of course dodging everything that's not you. All of this already makes for quite the chaotic scenario, but there's one facet of the game I haven't explained yet: the death character. Otherwise known as Lily White. Whenever the match stagnates for a little bit, Lily pops in on both fields and practically ensures that someone's going to get hit, or at least use up their gauge trying to escape. There is a way to ensure she doesn't show up, but I'll leave that for you to figure out. The last thing to discuss before I send you on your way to the next videos are the items. They're much more rare in this game than the previous games, but they can potentially help turn a match around. For instance, if you've got less of your gauge filled than your opponent, the yellow item marked with a G can instantly refill it completely. The item labeled EX will unleash a certain number of EX attacks on your opponent. This item will come in handy when you're trying to build up your gauge and you're looking for some other way to harass him or her for a bit. The blue item, as usual, will grant you points, 100,000 of them to be precise. And given the newfound importance of items in a combo, this is a pretty important item all of a sudden. Finally, the red item will send the good old swarm of bullets over to your opponent's field. Although in most cases it's not as good as the EX attack item. That's all for this video. In the next ones we'll get to talking about the new characters. And Tay.